Hello everybody, this is Luna calling, largely underestimated nugatory arguments. This week we'll be calling out to our Antipodean comrades over at the Barrenfield Experience, whose latest episode, which we highly recommend, deals with the question, what is a renegade? Now, in this episode they bestowed upon us the highest honor of calling our dear Luna a renegade. An accusation which bears or carries little weight coming, as it does, from a bunch of anarchists who wax lyrical around a mobile phone and no script, and who lack the discipline to follow one argument through one text.
That's right. That's what Luna does.
Yeah.
She's happy. She's got one book. That's all she needs.
Yeah. She's able to follow through in a disciplined manner the order in which the ideas are presented.
And here we are. We're at almost at the end of the order of questions in Descartes' investigation in the meditations. Here we are. We've finally arrived at the ultimate meditation, meditation 6.
We've been talking about this meditation for quite some time now, so I'm very excited to finally get into it.
That's right, a big build-up, because finally this is when we make it back into the material world.
Everything that was doubted away, everything that was taken from you is going to be given back to you.
That was a Madonna song, wasn't it? In the material world?
It was, and I'm a material girl.
That's right, and that was back in the 80s as
That
well.
was back in the 80s. Were you around in the 80s, Ol?
I think I was, actually. I remember dancing to that at a blue light disco.
Okay, so the task at hand is, of course, do material things exist, right? So Descartes is going to say, and I quote, "It remains for me to examine whether material things exist." But he's going to be reformulating this question, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going to show us how he understands it. And, I just want to shout out my mum here who listens to our podcast apparently when she's going for a walk. Oh. So I just want to say, watch out for those tree roots, Mum. Yeah. Like, be careful. And also, my mum, she said, I like the banter, but what are you guys going on about?
I'm still not sure most of the time.
Well, so I thought we might as well, and actually a lot of people have that kind of reaction in my classes when they're doing philosophy. They just say, what's going on? Like one of my students once said to me, she said, all these words. There are just so many words.
Oh, yeah. Just yesterday, one of my students said, this is incredibly tedious. Why are we going through this in such detail, so methodically? This is tedious, the way that this is being exposed, or this is the way it's being elaborated.
Well, when you're a student, tedium or boredom is often a sign that you just simply don't understand.
Yeah. And
there are amazing things going on.
There's lots of amazing things going on, and part of it, and I suppose going back to this question of discipline, right? I'm afraid to tell everybody this, but learning is incredibly tedious, Being able to follow the order of a line of thought, it takes a tremendous amount of discipline, and I'm sorry to say this, there are parts that are very boring, because establishing what exists in the entire universe is no small feat.
It's kind of important, it requires a little bit of effort. So when you're a little bit at sea in a philosophy text, one thing you can do is look out for the signposts that the philosopher themselves put in the text. And one of those signposts is a question. So Descartes, he starts meditation 6, and he basically says to Luna, he says, look, what I'm trying to figure out is whether material things exist. What do I mean by that? Well, he says, I know already from meditation 5 that material things are capable of existing.
Yes.
Right? There could be such a thing as a material thing, insofar as they are the subject matter of mathematics.
Right. So again, he's taken us back from the material world into mathematics, but he's going to be using mathematics as the ground in some respects to give us back the external world, right?
It's like, the way I like to imagine this is he's repopulating his universe, right?
Yes.
And he's building it out bit by bit. And one way I like to imagine this is he's kind of trying to build a bridge from his mind to the material world.
Yeah.
And it's like, those massive bridge building machines that you see operating in China or whatever. Basically, you can only lay out one section of the bridge bit by bit, right?
Yeah.
And so what he's doing is he's going back, he's saying, so I do actually have something secure behind me that I've already secured, which is mathematical knowledge.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, a bridge without sound foundations is, of course, just going to collapse, right? So he's going to be constantly doing this recap of... And what we covered in the previous episode in Meditation 5 is, okay, what is this universe populated with? There's me, the thinking subject. There's God, the perfect, actual infinite substance, right? There's nothingness. And then there's these funny little mathematical objects, these triangles that we keep going on and on about.
Right. I've got numbers. I've got polygons everywhere.
Yeah.
I've got pentagons. I've got hexagons. I've got dodecahedrons. Right.
Yeah.
And what he's saying here is that it could be the case that these mathematical notions, they could have some kind of external subject matter. And so here, I just wanted to point out that, he's leaping into a whole series of other questions about what is the object of mathematics? Like, does it just talk about ideas, or does it refer to something external and real outside it? And of course, he has already taken a side in this very old debate, a debate that goes back to Aristotle.
Exactly.
Right?
What is it?
He's already taken a side because he himself has contributed to the mathematization of the physical universe with what? With his invention of Cartesian coordinates.
Yeah, exactly. And, this is the historical moment. Of course, it's a mathematical turn, with Galileo and everything. We have the mathematization of physics as a discipline, which is also, the mathematization of the universe as such, right? So this is Descartes, the philosopher, also responding to this transformation, right? This transformation in our scientific knowledge.
That's right. I mean, Descartes looks at a series of waves. He looks at a series of changes in speed. He looks at rates of things like, how many, camembert cheeses flood into the shop like every Thursday when there's been a change in the weather, that kind of thing. And what does he do? He writes functions.
Yeah.
He says, I can write that mathematically.
Yeah.
It's a change in a rate. It's a change in speed. All of that can be written, right?
Yeah. And I don't need, and those things you don't need an external referent for per se, right?
So when it comes to having certain knowledge, in Meditation 6, what he wants to do, because he is finding a foundation for the sciences in this whole text, like that's his overall goal, right? He's going to secure that foundation. And the science that bothers him, the science that he's concerned with, is precisely physics, right?
Yeah.
He wants to be able to model the behavior of the physical universe, of bodies in it, by using these functions.
Yeah, he wants to model how the external world exists mathematically, right? But to do that, he's going to have to try and find out what the relationship is between them, right? Because it wouldn't be a very good explanatory model, right? If it couldn't actually explain things about the external world.
Exactly. So it's going to be a question of bridging pure mathematics and actual physical bodies. Now, he actually reformulates his question, do material things exist, a third time in the introduction to this meditation. He says, there is no doubt that God is capable of creating everything that I am capable of perceiving in this manner. And what he means by that is perceiving things clearly and distinctly.
Yes.
Right?
But he's pulling a bit of a fast one there because, maybe not a fast one, but this is where, for me, I just thought, finally, here's the proof, right? This is all we need. He's got this clear and distinct idea of God. This is the only proof that we're going to need for the material world, right? God is this perfect being, has all these powers of creation, the author of my being. Therefore, God must have created everything in the material world. Therefore, I can know about it. That's where I thought this meditation was going to leave off. I went, finally, here we've got it. It's all good.
But no, Val, you'd be off on your own in your own little private universe. God could have created another universe, over in the next room, and you wouldn't know anything about it.
Are you trying to say that I don't live in the Leibnizian best of all possible worlds, that there's other universes potentially out there?
We've got like a mushrooming of universes possibly happening here, right? He doesn't want to just show that God could have created a universe, right? He wants God to create that universe which I am in and which I have knowledge of, right? He's got to connect me to this universe. He's got to plug me in, right?
So this is the God is capable of doing this, but we actually want to see what God did create.
Yeah, did God get it right, right? I mean, God can do anything, right? But all he's saying here, right, is if I have a clear and distinct idea of two dogs, right, God could, if they felt like it, create two dogs.
Conceivably, that is possible.
But did they create two dogs, Val? Yes or no?
I would hope so.
We don't know yet, do we?
We don't know. He hasn't given us the way forward.
But then he continues. This is an amazing passage. So this is where I got really excited because he says, there is no doubt God is capable of creating everything that I am capable of perceiving in this manner, and I have never judged that something could not be made by him except on the grounds that there would be a contradiction in my perceiving it distinctly.
It seems like Descartes is maybe introducing a limit or some kind of upper limit point on what God is capable of creating. If God can't create contradictions.
What a shocker! How dare he?
I know.
This is the author of the universe.
Yeah.
This is the author of Descartes' being.
This is human hubris, right? How dare you limit God in this way? This God that you've said is perfect and actual. You're trying to say that God can't create a square circle, Descartes?
Exactly. He's like basically saying, I can point out from my super limited, finite human perspective, thanks very much, I can point out what you can't do. He's a hysteric. He's a hysteric.
Yeah.
He's saying, you think you're the master, I've found a fault in you.
I've found your fault line, and that fault line is precisely on contradiction, right?
God cannot create contradictions.
I don't know how I feel about this. Couldn't it be possible? Maybe if I want to be charitable to little Descartes, maybe it's not a limit on maximal power. Maybe the contradictions that he perceives, if we go back to the universe that we have, or the way that the universe is populated, couldn't it be the contradictions simply belong to nothingness? The source of errors, when I've pointed that out, maybe I'm in error.
Well, I think, contradictions are kind of beneath God's dignity. He doesn't even need to pay attention to them, right? I mean, Descartes, he's like basically like a little parking policeman, right? He's handing out parking tickets to various things that can't exist. He's saying, sorry, you can't park here. This is a loading zone. Bugger off. You can't be part of my ontology, right?
Yeah, that's not in the right place.
Yeah, because you're contradictory. So Descartes like policing it. And God, he's not going to bother with these little things right at the very bottom of his ontology.
No. Yeah, I suppose not. But I mean, of course, this is where Hegel is going to take up a particular position on this question of, the relationship of contradiction and nothingness, right? This is going to be the very motor or movement that brings existence into being. It's the nothing, the negation of nothingness, right?
Yeah, well, I think Hegel had a little bit more of a complicated home life than Descartes because he lives contradictions. Like, he is the liver of contradictions.
Yeah, there's contradictions abounding, right?
Yeah. So how is he going to go about answering this question, do material things exist, Val? What's he going to do?
Well, he's going to have to turn first to the imagination, right? This is the thing. He's going to have to think about the various faculties that he has, and he's going to divide this into two things. He's going to put one on the side of what is my pure understanding, and pure understanding we can just name as pure mathematics, right?
Right.
This is things that purely can occur within my mind, and the other thing is, but I can imagine things, right?
So do we get to imagine like unicorns and like castles and like knights in shining armor?
We can imagine them, but what he's going to be trying to look at is the relationship between pure understanding and the mathematical. We don't have a mathematical concept of what a unicorn is, to my understanding or to my knowledge, but he's going to be trying to look at the relationship between these two. So he's going to be making this argument from the imagination.
All right, so what does he imagine, Val? What does he go into?
He's going to be imagining a triangle.
Not triangles again.
Again. But
we've had too many triangles.
So many triangles, but fear not. He's going to introduce us to make this distinction, the dear chiliagon.
Oh,
right?
Crazy. What's a chiliagon?
It is in 1,000-sided shape, right? So I want you to, we can do this as a little experiment with everyone, right?
Okay.
Let's start with triangles, right? Picture in your mind's eye a triangle.
Does it have to be equilateral?
It can be whatever kind of triangle you like, so long as the interior sides equal to right angles.
Can I have an oblique triangle?
You may, whatever the powers of your imagination are.
My triangle's wonky.
Now you're starting to play with the natural order.
Is it all right for it to have color?
Not yet.
All right, because this is always, once I got taken by my parents because they came out of the 60s to a Zen master to learn meditation techniques when I was 4 years old.
My parents did that to me as well in the 90s.
What the hell were we doing to deserve to have meditation lessons when we were that young?
I know, to learn how to breathe well, it was this whole thing about breathing through your nose, all these breathing exercises, because, breathing through your mouth doesn't have the correct filters that your nostrils do, et cetera, et cetera. There was this whole weird. There was a revival of Western Buddhism in the 90s. But anyway, yes.
Well, there was some kind of ritual. This was London in the 70s, by the way.
Yeah.
Right? There was a ritual involved, which involved like giving a gift to this shrine. It had to be an orange. I had to like contribute 20p from my pocket money, which I remember because I didn't have pocket money at this time.
Yeah.
And I had to come up with a word that would be a secret word that only me and my Zen master meditation teacher would know.
Right.
And to this day, I have never told anybody of that word, Val.
Except the Zen master still knows it.
Yes, who has now joined Nirvana, right?
Oh,
So my word has now joined the universe.
Yes.
And one thing that master taught me was that if you want to evacuate your mind
Yes.
of all kinds of the daily rubbish that's there all the time,
Yeah.
one thing you can do is concentrate on and visualize a simple geometrical object.
Like a triangle.
Yeah, and I always ask the Zen master, is it okay if it's blue?
And what did the Zen master tell you?
Nothingness. They said, we're going towards nothingness. Forget the color.
Just think of the most minimal shape you can. But okay, so we can all imagine a triangle, right? That's easy. It's got 3 sides. We can picture that clearly in our mind's eye.
All right, got the triangle.
Right? So this is the power of your imagination, the ability to picture something in your mind's eye. Okay? Now try and imagine a chiliagon. Try and picture in your mind an 1,000-sided shape, right? What happens?
Is it 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional?
I'm gonna make it easy for you. Try and imagine it as 2-dimensional.
Nah, it just looks like a circle.
Well, exactly, right? And this is the thing that Descartes is going to be insisting upon. There is something in excess of our power of imagination, right? But when we try and think about this 1,000-sided chiliagon mathematically, we can perform all sorts of operations on it, right? We can measure its internal angles. There's kind of mathematical demonstrations that you can make using this shape, right? But when we try and imagine it in our mind's eye, suddenly it all falls to pieces. Every time I try and do it, I start trying to count. I'm like, I'm not sure. Did I get the right? Am I up to 1,000 yet? I lose
No, you
count.
only got to 860.
No, and it's a total mess. So this is the
But
distinction.
Hang
right?
on, you keep on saying in my mind's eye.
Yeah.
Right? What do you mean? Like, when I imagine something, does it always have to be visual? Like, why is he talking about the imagination in terms of seeing things?
Because this is the way he's going to start trying to link up the external world with the picture in your mind, right? He's trying to look at what is the mind capable of, and how does it relate to external objects, right? Because we have these external reference, right? As much as we try and doubt them away.
I reckon the visual sense, like this reference to, this privileging of vision in these metaphors for knowledge that you get all the way through like Western philosophy. I reckon it's leading him astray because, I can imagine textures.
Yes.
I can imagine sounds. I can certainly imagine smells and tastes.
Yes.
Right? And if you think about it, when you try and see a chiliagon in your mind's eye, it's very hard to distinguish it from a circle because it's got so many sides, right?
Yeah.
But if I was feeling it, Val,
Yeah.
if I was tracing my hand over and around a very big chiliagon,
Yeah.
right, like one of Buckminster Fuller's geodesic domes, right?
Yeah.
I would be able to tell whether it was a sphere or it had lots of sides. Maybe I wouldn't be able to count them, but I could feel like the hard edges, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, this brings up an interesting question, but he's trying to. One of the reasons he's making this distinction is he's trying to think about what is the essence of my mind, right? What is within my mind, right? So we have this pure understanding, which is the mathematical side of things, and then we have the imagination. But then he makes this very kind of spooky claim, right? He goes, "Yes, you can picture things in your mind's eye." But if I take this power of imagination away from you, I'm still the same individual as I am now.
But what does he mean by the same individual?
Well, this is something that I think is really quite interesting, right? What does he mean by the same individual? You're still the thinking thing, right? The thinking thing doesn't necessarily need to have a power of the imagination to exist, right? We've done very well for ourselves so far, having our mathematical objects, thinking thing, God. Those are all things that the thinking thing without an external referent can arrive at, right?
But I mean, like, I've got to stay at the level of like my first reaction here to the text, and this is how Luna is feeling about it as well, is what kind of individual am I if you take away my imagination?
Yeah, well, I mean, this
in what does my individuality reside?
Well, I think this is, there's one interesting kind of contemporary example that we can use. There's like people with aphantasia, right? People who cannot picture things in their mind's eye, which make up, 1 to 4% of the population, right? Or people who don't have an internal monologue, right? Those people are still individuals. They still exist, right?
Okay. And so, but their individuality, like, I mean, when I think of individuality, what it means to have a certain personality, I always think in terms of memory, right?
Yeah.
I think in terms of my particular memories, my own personal history, the series of interactions which are floating around still in my mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this is just a symptom of your contemporary modern condition, right? Why is the question of an individual even important, right? These are all questions of, who am I? What is my personal identity? Like, these are all, what is the individual? What I like about Descartes in this particular moment is he just goes, sod it. I do not care what an individual is. I'm being universalist, I am being fiercely egalitarian, I am emptying out the individual of all of these particular qualities that are specific to you, and looking at what is the essence of our humanity. And imagination doesn't necessarily need to be a part of that.
Okay, I follow you there. So he's just using the term individual to say, I remain the same as a pure thinking thing, right? Yep. He's not concerned with what it means to be an individual, which is a super contemporary question.
Yes.
It's a contemporary obsession. It's ideological.
Yeah.
It's a pathology, right? He's not concerned with that at all.
No.
He's basically just saying, what is most human about me, like what defines me as a thinking thing, is this capacity to understand and to reason. And imagination is extraneous to that. So I think, this is one of his signature tricks. And I think it's one of the things that gives a lot of people trouble when they read Descartes, is he's making a hard distinction.
Oh, yeah.
Right? He's excluding something. He's saying, sure, that exists, imagination exists, but it's not part of my essence.
Yeah,
right.
It's not. We don't need that to define what your essence is, right? We don't need all the particularities that make up you as an individual. He's looking at what is universal, and this is his egalitarianism. What is universal to us all, And again, this question of the individual, I think, is a far more contemporary problem. And this is one of the rare times, dear listeners, that I do follow in the footsteps of Foucault. Man is a recent invention, right? This question of the individual, this idea, it's very much a symptom of, the I suppose, bourgeois rationality that emerges in the Enlightenment, having a rational individual that can make rational decisions on the market and make rational choices about their consumption, Just thinking back to a few episodes ago where I got stuck with decision paralysis in the
grocery store.
In the grocery store, like Descartes' not interested in any of that. He's not asking the question, who are you all as an individual? He's asking, who are we? What do we all share in common?
Okay. So here he's going to pull a typical move. And I think it's really interesting, his tactics here, because his overall strategy is to rebuild his universe, right? He's building it from the inside out. So he's starting off with a very small stock of things. And so basically what he's got to do, he's got to say, amongst this small stock of things that I've got in my mind, here's something that doesn't come from me. It must have another source. Yeah. And so it's a kind of a bridge out to another possible element to be added to his universe. Yeah. There's this source of the imagination. So if the imagination is not part of my essence, right, then he says it's got to depend on something different than me.
And that different thing must be the external world, right? This thing that I have imagined must have some kind of external cause, right?
Yeah. And so he starts out with a hypothesis. I mean, it's a convenient hypothesis, but he says, and I quote the great Descartes, if there does exist some body to which the mind is so joined that it can apply itself to contemplate it, right? So you're contemplating your body there, right? Yeah. Then it may possibly be this very body that enables me to imagine corporeal things.
Oh, So now the body is starting to do things. This body that he is.
Yeah, you wouldn't have an imagination if it wasn't for your body.
Yeah, because
That's what he's saying.
yeah,
So, and the other thing that's exciting here, I mean, you know, he starts out the meditation by saying, "Do material things exist?" Right?
Yeah.
And you know, having read way too much philosophy in my life, I think, oh, great, he's going to start talking about tables and chairs and beds and houses, like Aristotle does and Plato does, that kind of thing, or paintings or whatever. But no, he doesn't talk about everyday bric-a-brac, everyday kind of furniture. He talks about his own body. He wants to bring his body back in, Val. He wants to, you know, he was there in his dressing gown. And he had his cognac, he had his fountain pen, he's in front of the fire, and he doubted it all away.
Yeah.
And now he's bringing it back in.
He's bringing it back to the body, and this is, I mean, post-war European philosophy makes a big deal out of the body, and what can the body do, right? You know,
Absolutely. I mean, he says, when the mind understands, it turns towards the mind. So it's a kind of like an inwards, kind of ascetic, contemplative kind of move, right?
Yeah.
But when the mind imagines, what does it do?
Yeah.
It turns towards the body.
Yes, it starts thinking of, but more specifically, and this is what I find really interesting, and I really like the way that you just described it there. It's not external bodies like tables or whatever. He's like, what is my body? What is my body capable of doing? Because this is, you know, when like trying to establish the link to the external world, it's like, yeah, my body perceives things, right? Even though I've cast them into doubt, you know, my body still does this in some manner, right?
Yeah, but it makes you imagine things, you know. And the thing that's kind of haunting Descartes at this moment, because, you know, first of all, he said he had like possible knowledge of material things that exist in the universe, right? Because he said, I have knowledge of mathematical essences, I have knowledge of polygons, and God is so powerful that he could have created a universe that corresponds to my knowledge of polygons. Like there could be like triangular shaped things out there, right? So I've got possible knowledge of the existence of material things, right?
Yep.
And here, what is he going to say? He's going to say, well, if it's probable that the body exists because that's the source of my imagination, right?
Yeah.
Then I've got probable knowledge that external material bodies do exist, right?
Yeah.
That have some kind of correspondence with these ideas floating around in my head, right? But he doesn't yet know why he's imagining certain things and not other things.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, Val, what's floating around in my imagination, it's not just triangles and polygons.
No, you've got also. I know very often that you're constantly imagining unicorns and all sorts of fantastical beasts.
That's right. I was imagining a drunken boat going down a river because I was reading some poetry this morning.
Yeah. What even is a drunken? How did you come up with that idea?
Well, Rimbaud was like, you know, we spend a lot of time down by the river. Luna, that's where Luna dwells. And of course, that's where Rimbaud used to sleep, in the bridges over the Seine.
Ah, of course. Well, I think one of the other things, you know, when he's interrogating this question of the imagination and the relationship to the body, he uses an example that a certain Maurice Merleau-Ponty is going to take up in Phenomenology of Perception, right?
Right.
It's a case of the phantom limb,
Ah.
right? So often, for people who don't know the phantom limb, for people who have lost a limb in whatever set of circumstances, often they experience themselves as still being able to move their, you know, say you've lost an arm, still being able to move their fingers and hold on to things.
That's right, or an itch.
Yeah, and even the limb, but even though the limb is not present, they feel an itching in an arm. So yeah, these are the kind of things which are troubling him, right? So it seems like there's this very odd, spooky relationship going on between, you know, what I imagine in my mind and the external world, right?
And I think we have to remember that when he's talking about the body, he's also, you know, he's not just talking about, you know, strange pains and internal organs or whatever, or a feeling of fatigue or, you know, a kind of the caffeine jitters or whatever. He's talking about the sense organs as well. He's talking about our sense of touch, our sense of smell, taste, what we can see, what we can hear, that kind of thing. And if we concentrate on the senses, then that can help us, I think, make sense of this claim that the body is the source of the imagination.
Yes, but I mean, having spent some time with Luna and Descartes here, I'm just not sure, is Descartes going to be happy with this probable knowledge that material things exist?
No, well, this is one of the things I wanted to say to our friends over in the Barren Fields experience. Descartes is not a renegade. right? Descartes is not going to give up on anything. He's not going to be happy with possible knowledge. No. He's not going to be happy with probable knowledge. No. He wants one thing, Val, one thing, and he's going to get it, and that is certainty.
He's going to follow that certainty right through the end. He's going to drag us with him, kicking and screaming.
He is going to found scientific knowledge of the universe. He is going to secure the bedrock, the grounds, the anchor of this new physics that he's contributing to creating.
Yeah. And this is where he's going to leave us off as well.
But he hasn't done it yet, Val.
He hasn't done it.
We're not there yet. We've only got probable knowledge. We're not happy yet.
Oh, so we've only got probable knowledge. Well, you've thrown me under the bus because I've not only gone onto the internet and promised the people that we were going to prove the existence of the Eiffel Tower, and all we've left them with is this: we have probable knowledge that this Eiffel Tower exists.
Well, for many people who haven't actually been to Paris, that's all it actually is. It could have just been a promotion campaign by a bunch of trigger-happy PR specialists who wanted to up tourism in Paris. Do any of them actually know whether the Eiffel Tower exists? It's just an image, Val.
Wow,
it's just an image.
It is. It's just a figment of your imaginations. And I mean, to be fair, the Eiffel Tower is a bit of advertising material for Paris, isn't it? Right.
That's right. So, dear listeners, I think we're going to have to leave you there and come back for more in episode 10.
Yeah, where we're going to move from probable knowledge to, I swear, if this does not happen, I'm going to throw a fit. I've had it up to here, I've had it up to here with Descartes not giving me certain knowledge of the external world.
You've hit your limits.
I've hit my limit. God, Descartes going to limit God with this contradiction thing. Descartes hitting my limit with this not giving me the external world.
So we're finally going to get there. Is that what you're saying?
We better. Otherwise, I'm gonna throw this book out the window and I'm gonna start another book with Luna because she's been led astray by this deceptive Frenchman.
She wants to make it into the world.
Yeah, she wants to find a different orientation in the world.
And that reminds me, actually, I just wanted to point out that some of our listeners have been asking me about Luna, just saying like, who is Luna? Yeah. Where is she? What is she doing? And I just wanted to say that Luna, in a certain sense, what I can say is that she's a soul sister of my daughter, Alma. And she shares in a lot of experiences with Alma. And when Alma was around 18 months old, much to our distress, we had to put her in the local creche. And can I just do my own little bit of advertising for France? Any of you people want to actually found a family, France is a great country to do it because childcare is fully subsidized.
Yes, I remember actually walking past a Spinoza creche, I think in the 11th arrondissement once, and that caught my eye.
How good is that?
I was like, incredible. Only in France will we have a Spinoza creche. I wonder if there's a Descartes creche somewhere.
So there you go. Like, 2/3 of the cost of the creche was actually subsidized, so it wasn't a huge expense for us. But of course, this is our first child. It was the worst day of our lives up till then to actually let our little baby leave her with these strangers. Right?
Oh yeah, this is a separation of
separation anxiety. I mean, it's not the kids, it's the parents who go through the worst of it.
Oh yeah.
And after about a week, and you do this, very gradual kind of weaning process whereby you leave her for an hour and then you leave her for 2 hours. And then she says, bugger off parents, leave me for the whole day. I really like it here. And the people running the creche who we came to trust, right? Because it was it was like a kind of socialist kind of creche in that it was half run by the community as well.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah,
kind of like shared management, like the parents were involved.
Wonderful.
So,
okay.
Yeah. This is the French tradition at its best, I must say. And so they actually said to us, look, she's really quiet. She's not saying much. And my wife and I, we looked at each other and we went, that's not Alma. What's going on?
Yeah.
And then 3 weeks later, they said, yeah, she's not so quiet, actually. In fact, she's bossing all the other kids around and she's kind of running the creche.
Oh, how did she achieve such a feat in such a short period of time?
Well, it's all down to the mother tongue. The mother tongue's all important. So, of course, her mother tongue is Italian, right, with a little bit of English thrown in there. And so she went into this creche in the 19th arrondissement in Paris, not knowing the lingo.
Right.
So she had all of these, surrounded by these 12-month-year-old, these 24-month-year-old, 2-year-olds and so on, babbling away in French and using, argot as well.
Yeah.
Right. And she didn't understand a word of what they were saying. So much like Luna, she finds herself thrown into this foreign universe, this symbolic universe of philosophy, doesn't know what's going on, can't make any heads or tails of it.
Has to chart a course through it.
Yeah, but what does she do? She learns the lingo.
The language bit by bit.
Yeah. So Alma got control of that social situation in 3 weeks. Let's see how long it takes Luna to get this Descartes under control.
Hopefully we'll see in the next episode or so how well she brings Descartes under heel.
Okay, see you next week.
See you next week.